This is Reality Remix, Season 1, Episode 10. My name is Dennis, and I'm filling in for Dale, and well, he's on vacation. In recent events, bit miners are now swallowing up AMD CPUs at the price of as the price of high-end graphics cards skyrockets. Cryptocurrency is on the ride. They have to have a way to bit mine, so they're going to do whatever they can to do that. With us in the studio is Solomon. How you doing, Solomon?
Hey, Dennis. How you doing tonight?
Oh, good. Can't complain. And we have Jim with us, too.
Hey, Dennis. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, hanging in there. Anthony, you want to chime in?
Hello, Dennis, Jim, Solomon.
Hey, welcome to the show as our newest co-host.
Glad to be here.
Good to have you. Our topic for this episode is the Rittenhouse trial. Now, Kyle Rittenhouse is on trial for killing 2 men in Kenosha, Wisconsin during the protests that occurred after police shot Jacob Blake in August of 2020. He was 17 at the time. That's important to keep in mind. He's facing 6 counts that he's on trial for, and he's charged with number 1, first-degree reckless homicide. Wisconsin law defines this as recklessly causing death under circumstances that show utter disregard for human life. And Joseph Rosenbaum lost his life at age 36. Okay, count number 2 and 3, first-degree recklessly endangering safety. For 2 people that were shot at by Kyle, but they weren't hit. Okay. Count number 3, first-degree intentional homicide. In other states, it's akin to first-degree murder, defined as causing the death of a person, another human being, not just a person, another human being, with the intent to kill that person. And Anthony Huber lost his life. He was 26 at that time. Count number 4 is attempted first-degree intentional homicide. Kyle is facing this charge because he shot at Gage Grosskreutz, but who was hit and wounded but did not die. Okay, and count number 6 is possession of a dangerous weapon by a person under 18. Wisconsin is an open carry state for adults, but Kyle was a minor at the time that these events occurred. The judge is allowing lesser charges to be considered, but Kyle could face life in prison if convicted. Lesser charges increases his chance of conviction, but decreases his penalties. If he's on the higher end of the charges, he gets convicted, he spends longer time in prison. And by the way, Tony Evers, the governor of Wisconsin, has authorized 500 National Guard troops in case they are needed. Now, they're going through the closing arguments yesterday, and we should have some, jury, at least deliberation by today, and then we'll have a verdict probably on Wednesday, maybe sooner than that. Now, I do want to have a mini trial further on in this episode before it closes out, and we can go over the charges, and I want each of our co-hosts to say whether he's guilty of that particular charge or not. But to continue on, let's throw it out to the crew to see what they think. Is he guilty of being like a bad killer guy, or he just a young kid hyped up on adrenaline? What do you guys think?
I mean, being a young kid, they do say that in your teenage years you are clinically insane, and that's because your brain isn't working as an adult normally would. You're not done growing. But then again, that's some serious charges also.
Yeah, and he could face life in prison. So imagine going to prison at the age of 18 for the rest of your life. Your whole life is shot.
Gone.
Yeah.
Your whole life is gone.
He won't make it to 21.
Well, what if he gets acquitted on most of the charges? That 500 National Guard troops that Governor Evers in Wisconsin is posting, they say they're going to riot, more and more and more.
Go ahead, Anthony.
Being a younger member of this group here, and so younger member of society here, I believe, being that he is so close to 18, he should be tried at, or should be considered for on both sides of the aspect. Still as a juvenile, but still as an adult, based on the severity of the crime or the charges. I feel like he should be, dealt with both ways, and if depending on how close he is to his 18th birthday, take that into consideration as well.
Yeah, well, he was 17 when this happened, and you can't really fault him. The basic underlying thing is he moved into the area to help fight off the rioting and to protect a particular car lot. I think his uncle owned it. Don't mark me on that. This was, a year ago in August, well, over a year ago. The whole point is he was there expressing his Second Amendment rights, the right to bear arms, and he was doing it as a diffusory sort of thing to prevent violence from happening. But watching some of the footage, the people were running up on him. The main footage that happened that we got exposed to, back in August, September last year, was they whomped him on the head with the skateboard. And one guy actually tried to steal his gun. He wrestled it back, fell on the ground, and shot him point blank. Obviously, he's trained at guns. He knows long rifle positions. Okay, he's capable of rational thought, obviously, because he wasn't just going around randomly blam, 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 taking them all out like a episode of Call of Duty, kill all the enemies. What we seen him he was fearing for his life, okay? So that weighs in heavily with the jury on whether he's guilty of these charges or not.
What about just the fact that he's there with the weapon in the first place?
Well, yeah, and under Wisconsin law, he's not allowed to handle a weapon in open carry until he's 18, so he was breaking the law on that count.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But the other ones, intentionally wanting to kill another human being, I mean, I find it a really hard stretch to say, he wanted to do that.
It was probably a fight or a flight scenario there, and he's got the weapon in hand. Why not?
Yeah.
However, it's a deadly weapon.
He also had a gun pointed at him. That came out in the That man said, no, he did not shoot me while my hands were up. He didn't shoot me until I put my gun in his face.
Yeah, and then that begs the question of when somebody points a gun at you, your adrenaline kicks in, and you are not in really rational control of your functioning anymore. Your adrenaline spike hits, and you are flight or fight, survival mode at that point in time.
What amazes me is how people stand back and say, oh, I'd have never shot him. You've never been in that situation. You cannot say what you would do in that situation. No one can. Not the greatest psychologist in the world can evaluate what a single person can do in a single incident. And that's how it sits.
And you have to factor in the fact that there were riots going on in the background. He's already hyped up, adrenaline running, because, hey, I'm trying to protect this particular car lot in this location, and there's all kinds of crazy going on around me, and what do I do? So yeah, he was not acting under his best judgment at that time. Probably.
Maybe.
He was a young white male with a rifle at a Black Lives Matter protest. Right?
Yeah, but all three of the people that he shot, two that he killed, one he wounded, were all white.
Well, like you said, at a certain point, you're not thinking rationally at who you're shooting at.
Yeah, but it's not a race issue.
Don't you think he's inciting a little bit of anger or animosity towards him just from being who he is standing there?
Well, with a loaded gun and assault rifle.
What about the rioters? Did they know they were there to riot? Did they know they were there to burn, create mayhem?
That's the whole point. The rioters were there to burn and create mayhem.
All three of those men have criminal background records. Both of the dead men and the injured person have deep criminal background records. They were criminals committing a crime. They were all
And the one
They
had a gun under disability, too. Anthony, you wanted to pipe in?
Oh, I mean, criminal backgrounds aside, I mean, I don't think when they went to that protest or riot or whatever you'd like to call it at this point in time, when they went there, they thought, I'm going to get shot today. I don't think they had the intention of shooting or getting shot.
And I don't think that the Kyle Rittenhouse had the intention to go there with a loaded weapon and shoot everyone. He was there with the intention to protect property, okay, expressing his Second Amendment rights.
It's like bringing a knife to a gunfight, man.
Yeah. Okay, well, since we're about halfway through this episode, let's go ahead and do a little mini mock trial, okay? From what you know of the situation, count number 1, first-degree reckless homicide. Is he guilty or not guilty? Everyone pipe in.
Guilty.
Guilty?
Yeah.
Okay, Anthony?
I'd have to go with Solomon on this one as well and say guilty.
Okay, Jim?
Not guilty of murder, guilty of carrying a weapon illegally.
Okay, no,
But-
we're only going off the first count. It's first-degree reckless homicide, and that means that you're recklessly causing death under the circumstances that you show utter disregard for human life, which means he opened up fire like all these other, Sandy Hook, whatever, the Las Vegas shooting. You're just opening fire and killing everyone around you. I can't convict him on that count. He's not guilty. Jim, go ahead. What's your ruling on the first count?
Not guilty, I'm reckless.
Okay, so we have 2 and 2 there. Okay, counts 2 and 5. First degree reckless endangering safety. Okay, he fired his weapon at 2 different people, but they weren't hit, so it's still first degree recklessly endangering safety. He didn't actually hurt anyone, but he endangered their safety. Counts 2 and 5. How does the jury rule? Solomon?
Guilty again.
Guilty again. Anthony?
I would have to say guilty. I mean, he still discharged a firearm in a crowded area.
Okay, Jim?
Guilty.
Guilty?
Yeah, he's guilty of charging that firearms.
Okay,
Guilty.
well, I will have to go with not guilty. Count number 3, first degree intentional homicide. To remind you, in other estates, it's akin to first degree murder. Okay, causing the death of another human being with intent to kill that person. Okay, first degree intentional homicide. Count number 3, how does the jury rule? Solomon?
Not guilty.
Not guilty. Okay, Anthony?
Guilty as well.
Guilty as well. Jim?
Not guilty.
Okay, not guilty, and Jim, how do you rule?
Not guilty.
And I'm
He did.
going to go with not guilty as well. That's a little bit surprising there. We'll go over that. Okay, count number 4, attempted first degree intentional homicide. Okay, he shot at a guy, the Gage Grossman, and he was hit and wounded. Okay, so he shot him and he was wounded, but he didn't die. So it's attempted first degree intentional homicide. How does the jury rule? Solomon?
Not guilty.
Not guilty. Anthony?
Not guilty.
Jim?
Not guilty.
And I'm going to rule not guilty either. Okay. Count number 6, possession of a dangerous weapon by a person under 18. Okay, as we went over, as long as you're 18 or older, you can open carry in Wisconsin, but he was a minor at the time. I'm going to go ahead and rule in guilty right now. Solomon?
Guilty.
Anthony?
Guilty.
Jim?
He's guilty on that one, man.
Yep. So he's definitely guilty on the first count. Now, how the jury deliberates on all the other counts, we were a mixed pool. We were side by side, 2 against 2, and it sways around a little bit, but it's really up to the jury to decide how it's going to work out. Now, are there going to be riots because of an acquittal on the heavier charges? Okay, are they going to be happy that he's found guilty on one count? Now, by the way, the possession of a dangerous weapon by a person under 18 charge is a misdemeanor. The other ones are federal charges.
It's not going to look good no matter which way it goes. We're going to end up with a mini war up there anyhow. I mean, if they let him free, then every BLM person's going to freak out and say if he was black, he'd be in prison.
Okay, well, they're not going to let him free. They definitely have him nailed down on the misdemeanor 6th count.
Well, that can end up probation or community service if they wanted to.
Exactly.
I've seen a lot worse charges against them, do 2 years probation and walk away.
Mm-hmm. I don't really know how it's going to turn out. Okay, but if you step back a step and look at the broader implications, there was rioting going on. It's herd mentality. Everyone is doing bad. Okay, I'm gonna take my skateboard and thump this guy on the head, and another guy's gonna. So it was just like wild, unbridled violence going on, and you have one individual there with a gun that's going to go and shoot up everything. No, he wasn't doing that. He was protecting a property. He only fired his weapon when he was threatened. At least
when he got scared.
Yeah, scared as hell. Okay, if I was in that particular situation, not that I would ever put myself in that kind of scenario, but I would be scared to death.
Like what was the property that they were protecting in the first place?
It was a car lot somewhere on the particular strip that they were burning down. The rioters.
Was it used cars or were they Ferraris?
No, it was his uncle's used car lot. A car lot. They sold new and used, just like most of your big Chevrolet dealers.
So used cars.
If it's a car lot.
I was say, if it's a car lot, is that really worth going out and shooting somebody over?
Yeah,
I mean,
cars sitting there and you don't want all those cars destroyed. I would protect them with a weapon. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, you would think if it, as a car lot, it would have some sort of insurance. I mean, they have to carry some sort of insurance even for test drivers.
No, you're not covered by that. That's not an act of God. And there are so many underwriters on that stuff. This car lot up here in the town I live in, if those cars get keyed, the insurance will cover them. If a hailstorm hits them or something like that, or a riot, and they get destroyed, it's not covered by insurance. It's destroyed.
That's a riot is an act of God.
Lost their businesses in New York when the first riots happened in Seattle also, where the people's insurance it's not covered. You're not covered against riots. There's no written underwriters going to, okay, well, we're going to cover your car lot in case there's a riot. We're going to replace every one of those $45,000 vehicles. It's not going to happen because that would mean anybody that come by and started keying cars, they're going to pay for all of that. They're not going to do that. I mean, you'll end up chasing people. We're talking about a kid that shot these people who he thought, in his own mind, they were coming to kill him, and he had justifiable cause because he had a gun in his face. In my mind, he had justifiable cause to release that weapon on that person, protecting his uncle's property, who his uncle couldn't protect all by himself. He was standing up, period. That's all he was going to do was stand up.
Okay, let's throw in the real quick analysis of Second Amendment rights. Do you see this down the road being a benchmark of any sort of trial for you not being able to hold a weapon?
This is a perfect case, but I don't. They're not going to end the Second Amendment. It will not happen. There will definitely be a war in this country where they just start taking away more of the powers and freedoms that the people have.
Okay, so this isn't some sort of landmark. The Democrats are going to haul. Oh, and I didn't want to do politics tonight, but they're going to want to take away our guns. So I'll edit out that last little bit, maybe.
Okay, because they're all in the same boat. They're all sitting in the same building. They're all collecting the same paychecks. Let us not delineate between one or the other and say who's going to do what. We don't know that. All we do know is that there are 150 million attached to a militia throughout the United States, in every single state in the United States, that are gunned and ready. And that's just it.
Yeah.
They're waiting just to have. We're not going to put up with tyranny long.
Yeah,
So,
most of us are getting fed up with the way the government's running
if
right
you
now.
allow it, it's bad. That's what made the United States different, is that we held our own. We were responsible for our own selves. We did not rely on other countries or other people to take care of us. We did it ourselves. We produced our own things, we sold our own things, and we stayed to ourselves.
Okay, well, that's a good spot to wrap up this episode. And if you'd like, please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell with the notifications so you can get feeds whenever we publish new content. And we will catch you on the next episode. Reality Remix, out.